5 Oscar nominations as well as 52 wins and 169 total nominations for this film. I think I stumbled across a trailer while I was perusing YouTube is how I found out about it.
The only reason I had heard of it is because it's nominated for Best Picture.
Give us the pleasure of reading an excerpt.
Yo, Sharonda, girl, you be pregnant again? If I is, Ray Ray's gonna be a real father this time around.
Written and directed by Cord Jefferson. It's his directorial debut. This is actually an adaptation of a book called Eraser, and it follows a frustrated novelist / professor who writes an outlandish satire of stereotypical black books, only for it to be mistaken by the liberal elite for serious literature and published to both high sales and critical praise.
I thought it was great. This actually might make, I might have to revise my favorite films of 2023 because it technically came out in 2023. But yeah, this movie is amazing. It's about stereotypes. It's about loss. It's about working through it all. It's about understanding. And there's a whole lot that this movie tries to touch on, and I think it does a really good job of it.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was hilarious. I love him picking that, like people writing these types of books and then other people thinking that it's some crazy, amazing thing. You probably haven't heard of this book called Pimp by Iceberg Slim, which is like a actual pimp guy that wrote this book. And it had all this crazy slang in it that they had to like actually make a dictionary for and all this shit. Like it reminded me of that. The elite people or whatever the fuck you want to call it, like love this type of thing for whatever reason.
What do you call it? Black
trauma porn.
Trauma porn. This movie ebbs and flows between like comedy, satire, and like a familial drama. I think it's hilarious that this movie came out a year after Will Smith's most recent film Emancipation. Okay, that we kind of like joked about, where Will Smith plays a runaway slave, forges through the swamps of Louisiana on a torturous journey to escape plantation owners that nearly killed him. There is a lot of pandering that happens in Hollywood, and it probably happens outside of Hollywood, as we see in this movie, in the literary space and not, you know, books and stuff, where like the only movies that come out that are like, you know, black movies are like about the black struggle, whether it's, you know, some slave shit or some hood shit. You could have really good and creative like black movies that are not about the black struggle or being black in America. And that's basically where this character stands. He's a writer and he's a black man, and he's not a successful writer, really. His agent and people around him are like, yo, like they want black books. And he's like, well, I'm black, so it is a black book.
But he also says in the bookstore, he's like, the only thing black about this book is the ink inside of it.
He hates to be put in that same whatever. The same, like, because it's like, I don't understand. So I don't really understand what he really wants, because
well, he wants to be identified just as a human and a writer.
Yeah.
It's like poking fun at how movies with like primarily a black cast or whatever are about a very specific thing. So he goes and writes a book that's what was it even called at the beginning? What was the name of his book?
My Pathology.
It was My Pathology, but then he rewrote it to My Pathology.
Yeah.
And then it was from the perspective of like the prototypical like criminal black guy. There's a really funny scene where he's like writing the book in the beginning, and it's like actually being visualized.
It's basically get rich or die trying.
And the gangster guy is talking like in slave speak, kind of like like Jar Jar.
We's a gun.
I's got to go, or whatever the fuck he says.
It was terrible.
He writes a book as like a fuck you. Basically like, oh, you want a black book? Like, here you go. I'll show you how ridiculous that is. And then ironically, like everybody loves it. He gets like a $750,000 publishing deal, which then turns into like a $4 million movie rights deal. And he goes on to win like an award. And then the whole time that all this is going on, you get like the familial drama part of it. He goes back home to Boston, where he's reconnecting with his mother, who's dealing with like early signs of dementia, his sister, who dies immediately of a heart attack, his brother, who's lost his family, and then he meets this girl who lives across the street. And the movie jumps back and forth between like the drama and the comedy. And that's where the movie kind of lost me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Really? I enjoyed the movie, but it was way better as a comedy and a satire than it was as a drama. I don't think the drama elements were very strong, and I don't think the characters were really that strong. The supporting cast of characters.
Interesting. I don't agree.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Either.
No,
I thought it
fair.
was done well. And I also like how after he was visualizing, like writing out the story, like something felt like in the story, they were trying to make it as though like you weren't sure what was, especially towards the end, like where it starts getting wacky and shit.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure, like, okay, is this actually happening, or is this just the book he's writing and the story he's telling? Like, I like that whole thing in the movie too.
That to me, honestly, the way the movie ends is what you're talking about, right? Because that's really where it happens, and it felt very jarring and abrupt, and not at one point up until that point did I even get like a hint of the fact that we were watching what he was writing. So it was very jarring for me and just kind of felt like a weird cop-out sort of ending. It didn't really ruin the movie for me. I just thought the ending kind of felt a little flat. But
I imagine it was like that in the novel too.
Well, I think, it was like a jump because we were basically witnessing what he had to go through. But then we get a jump where he's like, I've got another idea. This is the movie I want to do. And then it finishes he wrote what he just went through.
So yeah, I thought the family stuff was like weak because the characters weren't really super fleshed out. Like, we're supposed to feel bad that his sister dies, but we don't really know his sister. We actually meet her for like 10 seconds and then she dies. You only get like very surface level stuff with the family. This is supposed to be the story, like the drama part of it is supposed to be the story of this man like reconnecting with his family, whom he has like a lot of like trauma with. There's
typical family drama. I mean,
it's typical family
they
drama.
don't really flesh it out, but this movie is about stereotypes, so they give you those stereotypes and you don't really need to lean into them.
I don't think there were stereotypes in the family stuff. In fact, his family was the complete opposite of the black stereotype because they were a pretty well-to-do family. They had like 3 houses. One's a doctor, one's a surgeon. This guy's a writer. Like, they aren't the prototypical like black family that you would see in these types of pieces of art. They're the opposite of that. And I think that's like an ironic thing that the book or movie does. His real life is the exact opposite of the life that is portrayed in his book. So I don't think they had any of those stereotypes, which is why I kind of found them a little bit weak. Well, it's like, well, if they're not those stereotypical things, like I want to actually know about them and care about them. And then there was the moment that you just mentioned was the exception where you don't even learn about Lorraine really, other than that she's like kind of like a maid / like house helper, which also again shows that they're like rich and well-to-do. Maybe not rich, but they have money at least a little bit. Or maybe
she's the caretaker of the house.
Yeah, or maybe they live outside their means because by the time all the medical stuff comes around, like they're struggling to make, money to deal with it. But that moment, like I got a little teared up because the brother, like it wasn't because of the way the movie portrayed it, it was just because like I could empathize with a person in his position of like, wow, I felt like an outsider in my own family all my life. And now here's this woman who's known me since a kid, like just reaffirming the fact that I am family. So that was nice, but it had nothing to do with the way those characters were written. So yeah, I thought the drama part of it was a little bit weak. I thought the movie was stronger when it was leaning on the comedy stuff. And when the movie's funny, it's like real funny. I didn't laugh a lot, but when I did laugh, it was like a pretty big chuckle. The moment that made me laugh the most was when Monk has the first phone call with the publisher, and his manager's like, no, you gotta like play into the character of like the black criminal or whatever. And she's like, is this so and so? He's like, yeah, god damn it. And then he goes, motherfucker. Like that shit, I rewound that like five or 6 times. So yeah, I don't know. I liked the movie overall. I thought it was very good. I just thought the drama portion of it was weaker for me than the actual comedy of it.
No, I can agree that the drama was weaker. I don't think it messed up the movie in any way though.
No, not at all.
And I think the ending, it was pretty clear to me at the ending, it was like him being all this like holier than thou about the book. And then at the end of it all, he's just a sellout, just like anybody else would be. And, in a situation like that, I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought this movie was cool. I liked it. I liked the message that it had. I don't know that it's going to really get through to a lot of people because I was reading through the reviews and some people are like, you could tell who the white people are reviewing this. They're like, oh, we needed this movie.
When he tries to go at her book for what she's doing and she's like, I did research and all this. This happens like trying to tear, just because you don't agree with something, you don't have to tear it down or like try to belittle it or all this. Like there's better ways to say that you don't agree with it.
That's where I
I think I'm going to say stereotypes again. This is about preconceived prejudices though. Like the girl in the beginning, like he does he necessarily have to write that on the board? No, maybe does he do it because he doesn't want to have to deal with that in this class. And so it's able to wean people out so that you can just actually have an intellectual conversation with people who want to learn. You can have preconceived prejudices, but you're wrong. And that's going back to the author. Like he saw that book and he thought maybe she's just cashing in on a stereotype that he's annoyed with. And then when he gets to know her better and realize that she's actually an intelligent person and put some thought into it, like he's
and he didn't even read the entire
he
book.
also has his own prejudices and stereotypes.
He
like we all do.
I really enjoyed the movie. I liked it a lot. When it was funny, it was very funny. I think the drama parts of it, while I didn't hate it, I just didn't think, I thought that was like the weaker part of the movie, because I think this movie was just doing, I think, a little bit too much with what it wanted to do.
From what I gather online about the Erasure, the book, they said that it's fleshed out a lot more. Like there's more jumping between like present day Monk and like memories of his father. And there's actually like a short novella of that book that he wrote within the book itself. So I'm sure it's fleshed out a lot more, as most things are in
books
in
usually
the book,
are.
which
because kind of what happens here is like it jumps to the familial stuff and then jumps back into the comedy. So you never really get into like a groove of
it's a bit jolting at times.
You never really get in the groove of like being with his family or like being with these people that you're supposed to care about. And like, you know, again, while there was like an emotional thing, okay, it's emotional because I am a human being and I can empathize with that. It's just, it wasn't really about the characters, just more so the experience. I thought it was great. Is it best picture worthy? I don't really know, but like that's such an arbitrary, stupid thing.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough one. Yeah.
Part of me almost felt like the fact that it's nominated for best picture is like exactly what the movie's talking about. It's like, oh, here's a movie with an all-black class, just like make it. Nobody's heard of it, but just
that is actually hilarious.
We want that to be best picture. So
it was like meta. It was super meta.
Yeah, kind of what. So. Yeah, I mean, it works to do what it wanted to do, basically. And it's got a 7.7 on IMDb. I'll give it, I would give it like a 7.5. I thought it was really good.
7.58, yeah. I'm right there with that.
I'd give it an 8. I'd give it a bump. In going to where you say about the characters, like, I don't know that this was necessarily about you have to care about these characters. It's more of a spotlight on the way humans are and how stupid it is that we are this way. And there's not a whole lot what we can do about it because we're pretty much all this way, where we all have preconceived biases and prejudices, and some of us are racist, and some of us are sexist, and some of us are ageist. But it's just absurd that society is this way, and it's more of a spotlight on the denigration of society than anything else.